landscape lighting, one of those amazing things that you can add to your front yard, your driveway, backyard, patio, wherever, that brings safety, security, it brings beauty, atmosphere. It's a pretty cool thing, and it's not difficult for most people to be able to do. You don't have to have electrical experience, you don't have to have lighting experience. It's not super complicated or super difficult. So let's check out today's backyard adventure. So as we talk about the whole landscaping thing, a couple things just to kind of set the stage. First off, I'm using a kit. It's a Volt lighting kit. It comes through, I got this through Costco.com. You could buy it through Amazon. Lots of different vendors have it. It's one of the higher quality options that are out there, and I think it's actually well worth the money. It's gonna last for a long time. It's quality. It comes with everything you need. It's simple. So I'll kind of walk through that a little bit here. I do have a couple earlier videos on this. When I first got this kit, oh man, back in the winter, I installed it in my front yard. I did a little unboxing video that shows you kind of what comes in one of these boxes, kind of takes you through that. And there's also a video where you're gonna see how I put that together in the front yard, some things that I was doing, learning about that. I am ready to now install the second half of this. I actually bought 2 of these boxes back. Well, I didn't buy them, I got them for Christmas. I'm ready to install these in the backyard. I've got some different pieces, some different thoughts. So I'm gonna walk you through kind of how I do that, the process. I'm gonna show you kind of up close what this looks like and how you put it together. I think it'll be pretty helpful if you end up installing this or even some other brand or thing. It's all a similar type of concept. There might be a little bit different connectors or things, but the concept is the same. So I'm gonna walk you through that, and hopefully this is helpful. Again, go check out those other videos if that's helpful. You'll see some kind of some good tips, kind of put that together, and I think you're gonna really enjoy what this does to your yard, kind of that cool thing. So first off, let's go ahead and let me kind of walk you through, kind of just do a quick overview of what my yard looks like and what I'm thinking, and then I'll give you some tips and some kind of demonstrations of how I do this, and hopefully something you can consider yourself. All right, I'm not necessarily going to give you a whole tour of the backyard, but kind of want to show you, this is kind of the starting point where I've got my back patio that we do a lot of our eating and hanging out with, and we want some lighting that goes out from here, kind of highlights the areas in the dark around here. Over there is a studio we've built and some different walkways we're working on. So there's some things I'm thinking through here, but what I'm looking at, I just went and started putting some different spots down to kind of test it out, but I've got this walkway I want to make sure is well lit. So I'm thinking about, do I put a lantern in? I've got one I just set there, and I'm considering another one. I don't want that light shining in someone's eyes, but kind of highlighting the ground. Backing up over here, I've got another walkway we're going to be building, different kind of situation we're thinking, but if you can look over in the far parts, there's kind of over there, there's 2 lights next to the door, and that does pretty well kind of lighting that area, so I don't feel like I need much more there. And then swinging over here to the left, that's actually where our dog uses the restroom, in that kind of that far area, but I got all that bamboo, and I'm like, I could light that up, put some spotlights shining up against there, and that would add a real cool kind of backdrop to the patio on that side. And then coming out here, you can see where I've placed a couple of these, but I'm looking at, I want to kind of highlight where the edge of the dirt is. So if I'm walking in the backyard at night, I keep firewood out there, things like that. So kind of highlighting that. I'm considering, do I put something shining up against the side of the house to add some kind of cool effect? And then eventually down there, I'm not ready to install anything there. I don't know if I need anything there, but something I'm considering. And then moving across here, I've got all these trees, and some really big trees that add a lot of beauty. So I'm thinking about some spotlights over there that will kind of shine up against the trees and add some cool kind of look, as well as give us some visibility to see what's out in the grass. And then I got this little kind of grass area over here. Let me kind of walk back from the patio side area. And I've kind of started putting some different, in fact you can see here, got some wires. I'll tell you more about that in a moment, but I'm kind of playing with where I might run wires. But I've got this kind of archway that goes out to the different flowers and shrubs. And so it'd be cool to, if you look at that weeping cherry out there, highlight that. So I went ahead and put a spot that shines up into that, so we'll test that out tonight and see how it looks. I just planted this Japanese maple, and as that thing gets bigger, it'd be really cool to highlight that, and maybe a couple other things. So I don't think I want to put anything on those roses there, but just add a couple things here to add some light. That'll also give some visibility over here on this side, and so playing with that. So what I like to do now is I like to go and take all my different parts and think about where I'm going to place them. In fact, I'll put them out there, I'll run the wire over the ground and get it kind of set up overnight to where I can take a look at it and see, do I need to make any adjustments or are any of these in bad spots? So I've already started placing those. You saw a couple of those a moment ago, but I'm going to go and figure out, okay, what are some walkways or different areas where I want to have a lantern? What are some possible trees or building areas where I want the spotlight, and get that thing all adjusted and making sure it's not shining back towards where someone's going to walk by and have to have the light blasted in their face. So I'll put some areas, going to kind of test it out. Also thinking about, you know, I've got those hubs. Where's wires going to connect to a hub versus going directly to the transformer, and kind of my routes for that. Where could I have possible ditches? So I got to kind of chew all those factors in, having it balanced out. And if it goes well tonight, no more adjustments are needed, then we'll come back and we'll put the ditches. I'll kind of walk you through that, show you how I get it kind of finalized and all plugged in, set to go. And then we'll flip the switch and see if it's a success. So all of these lighting systems for a low voltage system, a 12-watt system, there's various brands out there, various kind of boxes you can get, but they all begin with a transformer. And this is where it takes the power from your house, from your power source, converts it down for the low voltage to be able to go around your yard. It's got a lot of safety features, but this is kind of the central hub for what you're going to be doing. And you can get some really big ones for giant commercial properties. There's some smaller ones out there. With LED lights, there's not nearly the amount of power that's needed as in the old days when you had different types of bulbs, but this particular one is 150 watt, this volt one, and this will do everything I need in my yard and more. Down the road I can add many more lighting features and still be okay with just this unit. But basically the way it, you know, there's a latch, you open it up, it's got this dial for off and on, so you can have it off or on manually. It also has a dawn to dusk setting, so it'll kick on when it gets dark, and then when it starts getting light out in the morning, it'll turn off. I typically use that especially for areas of safety and security. And then there's 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10-hour settings. So if you just want to keep it on till 1 a.m., you can kind of play with the timings on that. It's not digital, and it works great. It's consistent. It's got it through this window. There's the photo sensor, so it can kind of take the light and figure out when to go off and on. There's an off and on switch here, so if I'm adding a light or messing with something and I need to quickly do some things without having power going to it or any risk, I can just flip this thing to off and it'll be in good shape. And then the way the wires connect, you've got these little switches down here where you lift these up, and you're going to feed wire from different hubs or different lights, and it will go up into here, and you basically have 2 different sides, and it really doesn't matter which one goes in which. As far as you got kind of a right and left, or you got a black and white, or whatever you want to do, but you put that in all the way, shove that in all the way, pull it down, take this one on the other side, and this is all in the directions. It's very clear in the directions how to do that. And this thing is set, and I could go, if this thing was plugged in right now, in fact, let me show you this for the plug. It's got probably a 5-foot cord, and you just plug that into your outside your house or wherever you got a power source, and that'll be good to go. And then you know, package it up. As far as attaching to a wall, you're going to see this a little later, but there's a bracket that comes with it that you can kind of hang it on something, kind of attach it to a wall, or there's also a special assembly that you can stake it down in the ground, and it's kind of a self-sustaining little stand, like if you had it out in the landscaping somewhere where there wasn't a something to attach it to. So there's different ways you can do that. So this is the transformer. A couple things about this: you can have several different lines running out to different areas, and those will go typically, what this kit comes with is these hubs, and there's a lot of different ways you can do this, but I actually didn't like these hubs at first. I'm like, oh, that's going to be kind of weird to have this there, but it's super easy where I can I might have one area in the back where I have one of these hubs, and it can control 5 to 8 lights or whatever. And what it is it keeps things waterproof, keeps the bugs out of it. I can just put it down and run the wires into here, and it actually keeps it pretty invisible. I'll show you some samples. And similar to this, you've got these little switches where you can plug everything in, and you have one line that will go down and attach to the transformer, and then it'll just split from here and you know, take care of all your lanterns and spots and everything like that. So just like this, you're just gonna you've got one side here, and you just plug in the wires, close the switch, and then those go through these are kind of like this thin rubber thing that you can poke them through, and it kind of keeps the bugs and other things from being able to go in there. And so those wires would come up, and then you could just put that on there, put that in the ground, and it's good to go. So this is actually a pretty cool thing. I've seen some different different videos and things out there. People talk about mixed feelings on this, but I find this is very useful. In fact, let me kind of show you some spots around the yard where I've got these. Let me show you how the hub works. I've got some spotlights that are over on those trees to the left there, and swinging around here, you can see back here where I'm setting up my hub. Zoom in there. And so that's going to be kind of the central hub for those trees that I just showed you, and then that comes back through the fence here, and my power supply is kind of far over that direction, so there's a feed that goes over there as well as another spotlight that goes to a tree, and then I've got one that kind of cuts through a ditch I just put in through here. And so this hub will be one area where I can kind of launch power and the lights too. And so coming through here, what I'm going to do is take my the top of that hub and plug all those into this, and it'll be ready to go. Alright, I'll try to show you how this works. I got them all plugged into one side, so you can still see I have 4 slots opened up. Alright, so you can see here I've got my wires that are all plugged in. I got extra spots I could eventually put in there, and I'm just going to go and put those wires in and cap this in here. See if I can do it with one hand. There's an army helicopter or something flying above. Alright, so again, I got that there. I'm going to go get these wires buried in about 6 inches down underground. Continue my trench going over there after I test them out tonight and see if they're all in the right spot, but I'm pretty sure that these ones are going to be in a good area. And that'll be pretty invisible once everything's put back in place. One more time, that ditch goes along the fence line, and then there's a different one, 14-2 exterior cable that goes through, comes along the south here, and just a couple inches down below that hose. And then once it hits the patio, it goes right along the edge of the patio along with some other wires and pipes, and that's going to come to a little underground box underneath that bunny, in between the post and the arch. And then from there, there's one that shoots around here and goes to that spotlight. Another one continues down and right at the grass line cuts over and becomes the lantern. And then there's also a bigger wire, exterior kind of underground wire that comes through and shoots down along with the septic drain and some and a white PVC pipe, and goes over to the rose garden there and pops up at the hub. Okay, so here at this rose garden, I've got a hub, and that'll be supplying any power I need over in this area. And for now, I've got the wires all kind of bundled up here until I can make sure I see what I need. But I've got an underground wire that I went ahead and ran in a ditch through here. So here's the after. Let me show you the before, and you can see, dug that ditch down. I had to put a drain pipe in for this structure, and when I did that, I also put in a drip pipe. I put in a couple other things I would need in there, but that way I can run a wire underground, not have to have that dealt with, and that will always take care of this landscaping spot over here. And again, on this hub by the rose garden, if I zoom in, you can see there's all those wires connected in there, and then that just pops down. It keeps it out of the moisture in a nice spot, and once that thing is buried down, it'll be pretty invisible. You'll see a little black box, but nothing too big. And then again, this lantern, you can see I have the wire that goes here, and I'm going to test it out at night and just kind of see where does it look best before I dig that ditch down. So looking over here at these large sycamore trees, there's 2 spotlights. I've got one that is, let's see, one there and one right over there. And those 2 spotlights at night, I'll take a look and see if they're at the right spot, and if I need to adjust those, then I'll get those buried about 6 to 12 inches underground, just to keep it out of any scuttle hoe action I have, or if I'm weeding or anything like that. And then I run a main channel back by that fence. So as you're thinking about where to place lights, I'm going to talk about this bamboo section for a minute because I think this could work really well, but don't just think about like shining it up against the house or up against a tree. I think those are fantastic spots. In fact, you probably need a little bit of balance of having some house or some structure getting hit and vegetation, ground space, kind of having balance, high, low, all that sort of thing. This bamboo behind me, it kind of creates a privacy I don't know, wall with my neighbor and gives a different kind of look and aspect when we're sitting back here on the patio. And so my idea was if I could put a couple spotlights on this side of that walkway shining up, it would kind of give a nice kind of light, kind of a subtle light up against the bamboo. And I think as you're sitting here on the patio at night, it might have a real cool look. So I'm gonna go ahead and place 2 of these. And at night, I'll kind of adjust them and see, do I need to, you know, center them a different way or have them in a different spot, possibly even get a third, although I'm out of them. That's kind of my last 2. And then one other thing I wanted to show you real quick, I'm gonna take you over here and I want you to see, as I'm placing these, I ran out of wire. If I'm gonna put them here, I don't have enough of the wire that came with it. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and used some temporary wire I had from another project. It's not meant for outside stuff, but at least for giving me a chance to see if this is the right spot, I have these wires here hooked up to this inside wire, and I'll go out and buy some more landscaping wire, get that set. But you can just see here the wires, they're just kind of out loose, you know, tripping hazard or whatever. But for tonight, to give me a chance to see where these go, it gives me an opportunity to move them around without having a ditch that I have to redig and replace wires. So again, I'll set these here. I'll let these wires kind of sit here, be careful tonight, and once I figure out a placement for these, then I'll come back and dig kind of a little trench or ditch so that those wires are in a little bit more of a permanent home, and be thinking about, you know, where's the best place to run those where I don't have potential for hitting things again. Here's a look at those spotlights going on the bamboo. You can see I can hide those here behind this fence area. There's a second one right there by that garbage can. And so they're totally out of the way, you can't see them, but they put that light up. And so I'm going to test it here, see how they work. You can see that the wires just run out. And then there's that yellow Romax indoor cable. I just hooked it up to that so I can kind of test this out. And if that works, I'll switch that to some landscaping wire and figure out how to hide and bury the wire. Again, just panning through this. Here's the before. Hello, dog. Coming back around. Alright, so now looking out the porch, you can see the 2 lanterns kind of illuminating the way, not overpowering it. Then you've got the lanterns out there in the rose garden. And again, a subtle light. It'd be good to add some more out towards the darkness, but let's look over. You can see those trees. Looks like I can make a slight adjustment on those, but overall 2 is good. If I had a 2 on the left side, so they're kind of going on both sides of it, I think that would be even better, but I'm gonna have to be down the road, make that a investment. I could also move those to more in the center, but I don't want those out in the grass, so I'll have to play around with those. So here's that Japanese maple and the weeping cherry. So Japanese maple on the left here, and the weeping cherry. You can see it kind of gives that nice glow look as it goes up the trunk. And then coming over here, I might actually back that up a little bit, but gives kind of a cool look. Alright, it's getting kind of late and don't want to wake up the neighbors, and family's getting ready to go down, but you can kind of see just looking around the yard, the lighting really does add a lot of beauty and kind of highlights different parts, kind of brings some center point to the patio area and certain features of the yard. So really like what's happened so far. I'm going to kind of tweak a few things here and there as I kind of see how plants grow, but hopefully that's inspirational. Let's go out in the yard and take one kind of final look and see how things look, and we'll kind of go from there. So as you can see here, now there's patio lights that are on, there's the landscaping lights we just installed, and a couple other kind of lights on the structures, but all of that together brings a real good beauty, brings safety, security, and it kind of brings a center point and a life to the yard. Pretty pretty easy to install some of this stuff. Some of it's more complicated when you get into some of the other types of lights on the structures, but as far as the landscape lighting, pretty solid way to go. So hopefully this is helpful. I'll probably be tweaking these over the next couple months to kind of see what works best for our kind of pace of life and the way the plants grow, what gets taller, what doesn't, and then even in the winter time. But hopefully this has been inspirational. Check it out. I really find the volt lighting stuff has been excellent. A little bit more on the costly side as far as there's some plastic ones that are out there and different things, but I think it's going to last for a long time and seems to be real quality. Hopefully this has been helpful. Have a good life.